Graham Matthews, Bleacher Report, FanSided, Daily DDT. Good morning, my man. How you doing?
Doing great, Mr. Randy Cruz. What's going on?
I'm doing good, man. We're taping this live on a beautiful Thursday morning here in New York, September 19th. You can follow my man Graham on Twitter, X at WrestleRant. Find myself, Randy J. Cruz, RENDY, letter JCRUZ. Find the podcast audio on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, also on Amazon Music. Go to youtube.com/Cruise Control Podcast. Go ahead, download, rate, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Show some love and support for your boys on the program. Again, we're doing this live on Twitter and YouTube. So if you got any questions or comments while watching us, hit us up in the chat and we'll get to your question or comment live on the show. If not, just keep on watching, keep on supporting what me and Graham have been doing for so many years. So Graham, let's start here. So officially, I know last week we mentioned the possible return of Saturday night's main event. Now it's official. We have, I think it's December 18th, 16th, someone in that time frame at the Nassau Coliseum in Long Island. And what's funny is that before we got on the air, knowing that it's official and it's not at the Garden, which we were hoping it was going to be since they mentioned New York, but it's not at the Garden. It's in Nassau. And I asked you, do you know why it's being held at Nassau? And you said maybe because there might be the last event they might do in that building. And I said no, because I'm gonna hit you with this. And I did not know until last night. So I'm like, why Nassau? Why not the Garden, right? It says that the Nassau Coliseum in Long Island was the site of the very first Saturday night's main event in May of 1985.
Well, there you go. There's your answer.
So if you're going to bring something back that hasn't been around for over 15 years, it might as well start at the very place that it was birthed at, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Almost exactly 40 years later, too.
That's crazy. 40. Wow. Damn, yo, Grant, time going fast, bro.
That is crazy, yeah.
Time going listen, I didn't really catch on, like I said before in the previous show, like late 80s, early 90s. It was popping. I know it stopped in 92. So that late 89, 90, 91 time frame, I was watching that program live on NBC. It'll be on NBC, Peacock. Obviously, there's no matches confirmed. I see Cody on the poster, your guy Cody on the poster, Liv Morgan, Roman. So it should be a fun event. Do you have any plans on going to this event, Graham?
Potentially. I'll be at SmackDown possibly the night before in Connecticut. So maybe I would like to be. Let's put it that way. I would like to go to my first and probably only Saturday night's main event. What other opportunity would present itself where this would be possible? So I'm hoping to go. There's a chance I might be there. So we'll see.
So SmackDown is in your backyard, Connecticut, the night before. Where Hartford?
I think Hartford. Yeah, I think it's in Hartford on Friday.
That's right. The home of WrestleMania 11.
The greatest WrestleMania of all time, according to you.
It's just terrible, bro.
It's a pretty terrible show. Yeah,
number one at the top, WrestleMania 11 with Bam Bam and LT as the main event. Come on, Graham. Connecticut got to do better, man.
It's hard to argue. We've gotten some good TV shows. We've gotten some good Raws and SmackDowns over the years, but not so much WrestleManias. We've had some good pay-per-views too, but not so much WrestleMania.
Right. But just the feedback from social, and I think a lot of people are really excited about this event coming back, especially the people of my generation in the mid-30s, late 30s, early 40s who grew up watching the show and just seeing like how certain things from the past can still work in today's time frame. So you're bringing this show back, and again, we don't know who's going to be on the card, but I know it's going to be very exciting. They're going to put all the stops for the show. I think you mentioned off the air that they're going to do this 4 times a year. I think.
Yeah, I think so. That's what I heard. I heard it was going to be a quarterly special type thing on NBC. So that would make sense if they did one now, but then another 4 in 2025. That's what I'm hoping it'll be, though.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So you figured one in December, one in maybe March before
probably right before WrestleMania. So that's why I think they could do one. I don't know if they would do 2 in New York back to back, but they typically, as you know, they do an MSG house show every March. I don't know if they did this year, but they have in years past. They've tried to make it a big deal and shit like that. So I could see them doing one there then, right before Mania, maybe in June, and yeah, maybe September. I think doing one March, June, September, and then December makes sense to me, especially like September this year. I don't know how it's going to work out next year, but September this year, there's no WWE pay-per-view. We had an NXT show a couple of weeks ago, but that was it. In the month of September, there's no WWE show. In December, no WWE show. March, there will be no WWE show because WrestleMania is in April.
Yeah.
Will probably be in February. And then June, they did have Clash of the Castle this past year, but they could work it out to where maybe there's another one. So yeah, I think that would work.
Yeah, I don't think they did. They did the holiday tour in December of 23. I don't think no, they did not go to the Garden in March of 24. So
They did not. No,
they did not know.
no. They
Which
did. They did
yeah.
in March of 2022. I don't know about a March of 2023, but I know they've typically done it though.
They did March of 23. I remember because I was there, and I think that was the event. I took the photo of Seth Rollins on top of the cage.
Okay.
There was a steel cage match. That's when Austin Theory was still U.S. champion. This
that would
when
have been that then. Yeah.
Sammy and Jey Uso was in the ring, and I caught them staring at each other as they were building up to WrestleMania. So yeah, that was the last time they were in the Garden for March.
Yeah.
For the road to WrestleMania.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So looking forward to it. A lot of fans are really happy about this. They're already, match making and stuff like that. So looking forward to this event in December. If I can go, I'll go, and I know I'll check you out over there. So looking forward to seeing this event come back. First SmackDown, we're gonna rewind a little bit. First SmackDown on USA. We had the Cody, we had Solo in the cage match for the title. Cody wins. What was your overall thoughts on? There's a new logo, a new intro music, and that was a big topic of discussion on social. Like, why is this? And people just don't get it. Like Hunter always says, it's a new era. It's a new era, and the hip hop culmination. I love it. Let's do it. It's a fucking theme song. You know what I'm saying? So what? You got to bring in the newer, younger audience, and I get that. No problems over here. But as a show, what was your overall thoughts on SmackDown going from Fox to USA, and was there anything different, whether in a good way or a bad way that you saw?
No, I thought it was a good show. I didn't really think it was, a blowaway show by any means. I feel like the strongest parts of the show happened in the intro, and then not in the intro, but in the first 30 minutes, it was commercial free, like you said, steel cage, WWE title, and then the closing segment. Everything else was kind of, there. Meechin and Piper Niven was like 2 minutes. I heard that got cut for time anyway. The Triple H appearance was kind of random and pointless before the steel cage match, which was what took away from the women's match, I would imagine. That, and then you also had Orton coming back predictably. Andrade and Carmelo Hayes had a really good match in that closing segment with Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, in a way, joining forces to combat the bloodline at Bad Blood was pretty cool. And that sets a big match for that pay-per-view. So there's a lot of different directions they can go with that too, with Owens and Orton being upset over that because they've been feuding with the bloodline for 4 years, and they look at Cody and they're like, dude, like, the fuck are you doing? Like, we've been battling these guys forever.
Exactly.
Now you're going to not join the bloodline, but join the guy that's been making our life a living hell for so long now. So a lot of storyline possibilities there, but I thought it was a good show. And I like what they're doing there. It's intriguing. I don't love the fact that Cody's not defending his championship at Bad Blood, but when you have a match that's still pretty big in that tag team match they set up, and you're also doing probably Gunther and Sammy for the World Heavyweight Championship and a massive cage match that will probably be headlining inside Hell in the Cell with Punk and McIntyre, you can argue that they may not need a WWE title match on that show anyway. So, yeah, I liked the show for what it was, and it was a solid start for SmackDown on USA, I would say.
I don't mind Cody not defending that title at Bad Blood, because I'm like, who are you going to defend the title against? What, Solo again for the third time? It's really right now nobody else. So if Cody can have a month full of I don't have to defend this title just to defend it, I'm fine with that. Because even last week before we saw SmackDown, we were like, "Yo, what is Cody gonna do? He's on the poster, he's on the promo with Metro Boomin. He's got to be involved somehow." We were thinking Roman and Solo 1-on-1. at Bad Blood. We thought like The Rock might fucking pop out or whatever, but now you get Cody and Roman in the tag team against Solo and Jacob Fatu, and I like it. I don't see why there's not. I get your point about Orton and KO might feel a certain way eventually about, hey, why we've been helping you out, but why are you teaming with him? And even Roman said, I don't need Cody Rhodes. You know what I'm saying? I could do this shit by myself. But then Cody in the backstage, which I thought was interesting, and I think people were clamoring for Cody and Roman to do a fucking tag team. But now he said, nah, that's his problems. Don't leave me out of it. I want no parts of it. Then you heard the crowd kind of like boo Cody Rhodes. And even when the intro, when it came out at the end, it wasn't, aside from the before that, it was kind of like low cheering. Like it was like kind of mixed feelings until the eventual, give me the fucking clipboard. I'll sign the contract to tag team with you. Then everybody's a fucking fan of Cody Rhodes once again.
Yeah.
But I think the dynamic of them two tag teaming, does it eventually spin off Roman to go with Jacob or Roman and Solo? We have not seen that yet, because then the question is this the final thing Cody gets involved with the bloodline? Is this like the end all be all?
I fucking hope so. That's another thing. I mean, that's another top takeaway from this segment. The match is a big match.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm so done with Cody and the bloodline. This has been going on now for a year and a half, on and off, mind you, but still, like, I know it's a different dynamic now where he's teaming with Roman instead of facing him or Solo, but he's still in the ring with Solo, who he's now already beaten twice at SummerSlam and on SmackDown, this time decisively.
Yeah.
I'm done with Cody and the bloodline. I'd rather Cody have the focus back on his title run. It's a logical way to keep the feud going, because clearly they're moving this bloodline storyline at a snail's pace. They're not doing Roman and Solo right now. They might do it at Crown Jewel and Saudi. Wouldn't be too shocked about that. That's not a report. That's just my own speculation. They could be saving Roman and Fatu for WrestleMania. If they're not doing Roman and Rock at WrestleMania, which is a pretty decent chance that they won't, if we're getting Cody and Rock at WrestleMania, because if we haven't gotten it yet, we could get it at the Rumble. I mean, Rock wrestled at the Rumble in 2013, so we know it's possible. I just don't think that's going to happen. So if we're not getting Rock and Roman, they want to keep this shit going on for as long as fucking possible, pretty good chance we might get Roman and Fatu at WrestleMania, which is still a great fucking match, because that is WrestleMania worthy. Better than the other way around, where it's Roman and Fatu at Crown Jewel and then Roman and Solo at WrestleMania. No fucking thanks. Like, no one really wants to see that. So at least at WrestleMania are really even at all. So yeah, I think the way that they're doing it is extremely slow, but it's meticulous. It should be a big match. I imagine Cody and Roman pick up the victory. I do not need to see Solo picking up another win over Cody Rhodes to set up yet another title match. No fucking thanks. I'd rather Cody go back. And I think I'm hoping that that is the case with what, you just kind of mentioned with Orton and Owens, and you can tell that story, but not right now. They're not going to show up on Friday this week and turn on Cody Rhodes for saying, hey, you joined Roman Reigns, like, fuck you, and then beat him up. They're not going to jump into it that quickly, but this could bleed into that, where that eventually happens, probably going into Crown Jewel or a Survivor Series, and we get Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, maybe even sooner than WrestleMania. I still don't think I think Cody and Orton is a pretty big possibility for Mania. I don't think it happens, though. I think we get it before Mania, so we get Cody and Rock at WrestleMania. That's still my proposed card for Cody Rhodes and the bloodline and whatever. But yeah, that's how I see things playing out here.
So let's rewind a bit. You mentioned maybe Roman and Fatu at WrestleMania over Roman and The Rock. And now, are we saying that because that's what you want, or you feel like from a storyline base that I would rather see that, because, or the fact that The Rock may not be available? Because if The Rock is available, he's going to be in the match, right or wrong?
If The Rock isn't available for WrestleMania, he'll be in a match. Yeah. Yes, he will be. Yeah.
So then, if he's available, we're getting Rock and Roman at WrestleMania. If he's available before that, you might get Rock and Cody Rhodes at Royal Rumble, maybe at the Rock.
You have to do Rock and Cody. I mean, there's no way they tease it the way that they did, and they don't do that match. I preferred that match at SummerSlam, and then he wasn't free. And I don't even think it's a case of, he's not free, so that we can't do the match at SummerSlam. I just get the sense, personally speaking, I would rather that we already did not get Rock and Roman at Mania this year. And thank fucking God for that, because that would have been a disaster. I would rather they do it next year as opposed to waiting until 2026. I don't need to see the stretch on for 2 years. Maybe they'll find a way to make it entertaining. But dude, if you wait until 2026, Rock will not be around then either. What are we going to get? Rock and Cody at Mania. Rock loses, hopefully, I would think. And then you're going to get Rock turning on Roman the night after Mania. We're not going to see Rock again for another year. Like, that's just, you're moving on. Like, it's like the Cena Rock thing all over again, where they told the story across like 3 different Manias.
Yeah.
Good story, but like a lot of the shit we got in the meantime didn't really like matter because Rock wasn't around to tell any stories in the meantime. I would rather they just blow this shit off in Mania and move on. I don't need to see this go on for another year and a half. I'd rather see it go on for 6 months, but I feel like I'm saying the same thing I said 2 years ago when Roman's title reign went on for 4 years, and I would rather they blow that off in Mania, and they waited another fucking 2 years to tell that story too. So they're taking like a 10-year long span to tell this bloodline shit, and it's been great for them, but at a certain point, it jumps the shark. So I would rather we get Rock and Roman at Mania, but if we're not, and I don't think we will, Roman and Fatu is a pretty solid consolation prize.
Listen, it's in Vegas, 41. All respect to Fatu, but I think Roman and Rock has to be at 41. Like I've been saying for last couple of months, man, is what are they gonna do with Cody? And I think I agree. It's time to break away from the bloodline because, bro, Cody got back WrestleMania 38, and from maybe the early portions of 2023 before 39 till now, you talk about almost 2 years attached to the bloodline in some
on and off
way capacity. Roman, the Usos, and then there's Sammy, then there's the KO, then there's the fact and the new, you've been around, and it's not like that's his fault. It's not like he's not letting go. It just that's the story. But then at some point in time, you gotta pluck away and give Cody something brand new, something fresh, because you don't want fans to feel like his title reign is cool, it's all right, but every chance you look, it's bloodline related. So it's like, I think Bad Blood is going to tell where Roman is going to go Fatu or Solo.
Mm-hmm.
Cody, it's like, how do I get Cody? Do I get a heel turn? Do I get someone getting involved? Because then the Usos are still waiting around to get involved because now War Games is after that. Now, what do you do? Does Cody Rhodes get involved in War Games? Is he like the 5th man?
He could be.
Get involved. Then
I don't want
him to break away from that.
Doing the full-fledged bloodline reunion, I don't know if we get it before Survivor Series. I know we've been saying this for like 6 months, that it would make the most sense to do the bloodline Civil War at Survivor Series. But you're saying, not you specifically, but like I'm just saying in general, you have to get Jay and Jimmy back on the same side. You got to do that first. Then you got to get them over to SmackDown, maybe with Sami Zayn, who Jay is tight with. So that would make sense. And you got to get Paul Heyman back on the show. I mean, that's a lot.
Same as on Raw. So at this point, would it matter if you're on Raw or SmackDown?
Well, I mean, for a match like that, probably not. I mean, if they really want to do the Bloodline Civil War match, then you would have to have them. I mean, listen, Becky Lynch last year, the women needed a 5th woman for the Damage Control match at WrestleMania or at Survivor Series or whatever it was, and they ended up recruiting Becky Lynch, who was from Raw. And it didn't really make much of a difference. They got Raw Superstar for a night, and then that was what it was. So I think the fact that, I would like for that to matter. I don't think it matters in the eyes of WWE or whatever. So I think we could see, the Bloodline guys from Raw appear on SmackDown for Survivor Series. I feel like it might be more likely, and I don't want to see this happen, that Cody and Roman like maybe encourage Orton and Owens to join their team. Which I feel like wouldn't make much sense because they hate fucking Roman Reigns unless they, get him back on the same side or whatever. I just feel like that would make the most sense. I just don't really like the scenario of Owens and Orton also continuing to feud with the Bloodline. At some certain point, we have to move on from this. I feel like it should be the Usos, but I could see Orton and Owens also getting involved, and Cody, Orton, Owens, and Roman versus the new Bloodline. That's fine, I guess, but I would rather it be the OG Bloodline and maybe Cody Rhodes or someone like that. I feel like that would make the most sense.
My fault, Graham.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I don't know what the fuck happened over there, but I was like, man, to like damn near 10 minutes for like an hour, they try to get back on.
No, it's fine. I thought when it focused on me for a second, I'm like, oh, he's just giving me the single cam here, and then I didn't hear you. I'm like, okay, must be gone then.
Man.
No
So
worries.
again, those who are watching live, you saw Graham just stare at his fucking screen.
Yeah. Hey, listen, fascinating material.
Oh man. All right, let's rewind. I think we left off. I was asking you. I'll ask the question again. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. So, do we see the end of the Cody Rhodes alliance with the Bloodline and at Bad Blood, or do we feel like we're gonna get one more shot at War Games? Try to get the Usos involved, whatever it is for this War Games match, and then after that, it's the end of Cody Rhodes with the whole Bloodline, or do you feel like this is gonna keep going on forever?
It might happen. It might go through Survivor Series. I mean, if Roman needs partners against the Bloodline, he may recruit the Usos, but I don't know if they could tell that story in the next 2 months. I mean, they could, but with the pace that they're going at and telling this story, and they have been for the last 4 years, this really slow pace, then there might be a chance to get Cody Rhodes on Team Roman instead, and not the Usos, and maybe Orton and Owens or whatever. I don't know. Keep it exclusive to SmackDown. So I don't know. I hope it's over after Bad Blood, but I can't be too sure of that.
I'm just trying to figure out if somebody was to go left and turn on Cody or make and pluck Cody away from the Bloodline. Is Bad Blood the bigger event? Is Survivor Series War Games the bigger event? I would probably say War Games because you're gonna have everybody involved, and because like last year's Survivor Series when we saw Punk and it was like, oh shit, it was a big Survivor Series moment.
Yeah,
but it's probably gonna be Orton. I don't want to see KO 45th heel turn. I don't mind a 45th heel turn for Randy Orton either, but I think that makes sense because there's nobody else out there for him to be associated with if it ain't Roman in the Bloodline. So I like the I like the Bad Blood team We'll see what happens. Maybe you start the story of like, hey man, what are you doing? Roman's, not your friend, and he can't trust him. And again, it's not like Roman is begging for Cody's help anyway.
Yeah.
If he could do it by himself, he'll do it by himself. So, I mean, I liked it just to kind of cap off the first SmackDown on USA. It was good. Got a few great matches for Bad Blood coming up. Punk and McIntyre will be the main event in the Hell in a Cell match. This is probably midway. You think the match before it could open up the show? You never
I think
know.
Cody and Roman versus the Bloodline opens the show.
You
I
think
think it
so?
should. Yeah, I think so. I think it should. If you're gonna close with Hell in the Cell and that should fucking main event, then I think you open with another equally big match and that tag team match. So that's what I would do.
Mm-hmm. So I'm watching Raw on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
First time in a while, I'm sitting back. I'm flicking back and forth with that and football, and I see Woods and Kofi kind of like not on the same page, and I'm just like, it's about time, and Big E's not here no more, and Woods like, you think we can't win no more? There's no faith in us, and you're getting the LWO involved to help us out, and
yeah,
I like that. I'm like, yo, it's 2024. The New Day's been together since what, 2012?
2014. They're approaching their 10-year anniversary in November. Yeah.
So we're gonna break up at the 10th anniversary of us being a tag team trio. I like it. If it goes down that way, I'm all for it. I think Woods. I don't see Kofi being the bad guy. It's hard for me to see Kofi as like the heel in this, but could he make a great heel? I think so. I think Woods is more in line to be the bad guy. I think as a singles guy, I think Woods can do a lot more. I just think always being associated with the New Day, it kind of handcuffs everybody to a degree.
Yeah.
And I think me as a fan, it's like, when you see Undertaker out with the slow music and for 10 years, like, all right, come on, I need a new revamp to the character. American Badass comes out. Oh shit, same guy, but new character. I'm in love. The New Day, I think, is run its course for the time being. I think going away from being a tag team is great. What did you see on Monday? And do you think we will eventually finally get a New Day breakup?
I like the two. I'm still skeptical that we're going to get that full-on breakup of the New Day. I still think this might culminate in them teasing more attention, specifically in the Woods side. It's not like they're equally arguing. It's Woods is the issue, is the one that has the issue with Kofi. They planted those seeds during the Final Testament feud, which I liked. But I think this is probably and could culminate in just them winning the tag titles, which I know they failed on Monday. But I could see them building towards winning the tag titles on their 10-year anniversary or around that time. And then, going back on the same page from there. That ultimately would not be interesting. The only thing that you're getting out of that is a longer story between these two dating, lasting until November. And then a New Day title run that probably in the end may not be that interesting because it has been a few years since their last tag title reign. That's true on the main roster, but it's still the New Day at the end of the day. It's the same characters that we've been getting now for a fucking decade. I would rather they go their separate ways, whether Woods flat out turns on Kofi or just says, listen, I don't want to be in your shadow anymore. I feel like I'm holding back the team or whatever. I'm going to go do my own thing on SmackDown and doesn't like attack him because they never really wanted to do a full-blown split or an attack or whatever. But they have moved, like Big E was on his own away from the other members of the New Day when he was WWE champion, at least for a majority of that run. So I could see a scenario where Woods willingly gets himself traded to SmackDown in exchange for someone else or whatever. So they do have to go their separate ways. And Woods can remain babyface and tell his own redemption single story over on SmackDown. I think either way, regardless of where they go with this in the end, I think they got to get Big E involved just to come in, play mediator, get an appearance out of Big E, if not multiple appearances, to try to get them on the same page. We haven't seen Big E on WWE TV, aside from like pre-show panels and shit like that. Since his injury back in March of 2022, he has not made a single in-ring appearance, to my knowledge, since then. So to bring him on back to do that, not to wrestle, obviously, but to do that would be fucking awesome. So this is easily the most interesting New Day has been in several years. They have my interest. It's a great story going on right now on Raw. I am just worried, as you are, Randy, with where this is going in the end.
Who makes it more interesting heel, Kofi or Woods?
More interesting might be Kofi, because Kofi spent the majority of his WWE career as a babyface. I think Kofi might have been at his most interesting, or one of his most interesting runs, aside from being WWE champion, was when he was a heel in the New Day. It was like a breath of fresh air, because this guy had been like the smiling babyface for fucking 6-7 years at that point. And it was something different for him, which was cool. But then they ultimately went back being babyface, and it was whatever. But I think of the two, Woods might be a better babyface, and also he's the one that has the issue with Kofi. I mean, I guess they could do a swerve where it's like Woods is building up frustration. He ultimately calms down. They're on the same page, and then Kofi betrays him and then turns heel instead. That's also very possible. I feel like as a smarmy heel, Kofi could work really well in that role, but I feel like it might be more likely, and ultimately it might be Xavier who does the best work as a heel. So, I mean, I'm fine with whoever turns, but I am putting, if I were to put money on it, it would be Woods being the one to turn on Kofi.
And I ask that because it's like, if they do the breakup, and regardless of who's a bad guy or good guy, who needs this more? And I think Xavier does, because Kofi, we already know, tag champion, intercontinental champion, heavyweight champion. He's been there, done that. If you look on the Wood side, it's just been tag team titles, as far as I know, tag titles, and there's no singles titles ever, right?
Well, he did win King of the Ring, to his credit.
Okay, King of the Ring.
He has not won any singles championships, though, correct? Maybe the 24/7 title. I don't think so, though.
So that means no intercontinental champion, no U.S. champion, no world champion, no heavyweight champion. So it's like,
he's had opportunities too, and he's lost them all.
You're right. But who needs the battery in that back right now?
Yeah,
I would say it's Woods.
Even if I can't guarantee, though, even if Woods were to go off on his own, and I would be intrigued to see that, because I think Woods is great. There is no guarantee that he wins a mid-card championship. I mean, it took fucking LA Knight 2 years to finally win a mid-card championship, and he should have held one a year and a half ago. Woods, he is very good, but they also have a lot of people who, spoiler alert, are very, very good. So Woods may never get a singles opportunity, but it would be better than keeping him in a tag team where it's a dead end, and it has been for a long time now, just my opinion. I know they're extremely popular, but it would be more interesting to see him in as a single star over on SmackDown on his own, as opposed to continuing the New Day thing and continuing to push that to whatever it's going to go to, which would be them continuing to do the same thing for the next 5 years or whatever.
Just know that if I put you on the solo layout, don't think I left. Okay. I was gonna put you on a solo. I'm like, damn, he might think I left. Oh God.
All right.
Terrible Wi-Fi. Yeah. But are you surprised that they're doing Jey Uso Braun Breaker Intercontinental Championship on Raw next week, but not at Bad Blood?
Slightly, yes. I was hoping it would happen to the pay-per-view. That to me is a pay-per-view caliber match. Braun Breaker did not defend at Bash in Berlin. He did it, he won it at SummerSlam. They had Zayn and Breaker at Money in the Bank. I guess they want to go a couple pay-per-views without defending that championship on pay-per-view, because they had a number of IC title opportunities or matches on pay-per-view. King and Queen of the Ring, Clash of the Castle, Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, Mania, obviously. So if they go 2 pay-per-views without an IC title defense, that's fine. I think it'll be a very good match. I'm looking forward to it. And when you don't put it on the pay-per-view, it gets more spotlight as the main event of Raw. So I'm okay with that in that sense. And I don't think this is the end either. I think they have the match, but I think there is more to come between the two. And I think it could ultimately lead, honestly, to Braun Breaker losing that championship to Jey Uso, because they've spoken a lot about Jey Uso setting a goal for himself coming into 2024 that I need to hold singles gold. He's gotten world championship opportunities, WWE title opportunities, US, IC opportunities, has lost every single one of them. Money in the Bank, King of the Ring, he has lost every single opportunity he has gotten this year. Whenever it has mattered most, he has lost, except at WrestleMania when he beat his brother in that fucking mediocre match. But beyond that, he has won or lost every other match that has mattered. So that being said, I feel like he could lose here. Breaker just won the belt a little over a month ago anyway, but they could have him lose here, win the belt, and then maybe lose it back to Breaker soon after, or just keep it on Jey. Either way, I feel like that would be totally fine. But that's where I feel like this might be going. So I have my money on Jey becoming champion at some point before 2024 is over, but I just don't think it'll be on Monday night. But I'm also, to answer your question, not frustrated about it not being on the pay-per-view, because they already have 6 matches. They could add a 7th. It's not impossible, but they like to keep it to 5 or 6, and 6 is an improvement over 5, which is what they had previously.
And plus the fact that You know, Hell in a Cell is going to go over.
That should be given some time. Yeah. The Roman match will go a while, I'm sure.
Will go a while.
You got Gunther and Sammy probably.
Even right now, Gunther and Sammy is not official at Bad Blood. Am I wrong?
It's not official, but it should be. That Breaker and Uso as a Raw main event is fine. The World Heavyweight title should not be defended on Raw and instead of on paper. That would just be stupid. Especially if there's no World Championship match already on the show. Gunther and Sammy has to happen in Bad Blood, and I think it will. Because it would be dumb if Gunther is like, I accept, but we're going to do it on Raw and out of the pay-per-view. That would just be stupid. That doesn't make sense. I could see it happening. I hope that wouldn't be the case.
We're going to do it the live event in Kentucky next.
Okay, you denied it for a month and you're going to accept on Raw? Like, no, you do it on pay-per-view when it matters.
And I know Triple H, you might call him Paul, you might call him Trips, because I know you speak to him and do.
Oh, of course, yeah.
You do press conferences. Hey, Paul, this. He's bringing a lot of old school stuff back. If there's one thing I would love for him to bring back is the old school Intercontinental Championship, because I'm not a fan of how it looks now. I know it's still a relatively newer belt. It's been less than 5 years. That belt has been or that design has been what they use now. But I'm like, hey man, you could bring back, because you brought back the old school tag titles for the SmackDown side, right?
I mean, he didn't bring them back, but they were inspired.
They were brought back, inspired. Yeah. I need you to bring back Slash and get inspired to bring back the old school Intercontinental Championship with the black strap, the white strap, something, because that IC title belt, not a fan.
It's okay. I prefer the other one. I have a replica of the other one over here. So, the one that we had previously before this one, I prefer that one. The one we have now doesn't bother me. I've seen far uglier championships, but I do prefer the other one, like you said.
So now you got to find Braun Breaker to sign your belt.
I did have to add his name to that list, because he was not on that list otherwise. And if Jey Uso wins it on Raw or whenever, he's another name I have to add to it, because he's never held it before. So yeah.
That's right. How far are you off of trying to get alive people who a good chance of getting them to sign it? How many are you off?
I have well over half of the champions that are alive, because obviously I'm not doing every champion, because a lot of them are dead. Of the ones that are alive, I have a number to go, but I'm well over halfway there. I have over 50, 55, something like that in the last 7 years. And to go are probably like 25, 30, and a majority of them work for the company. Like a lot of them are, like Orton is tough because he doesn't do that sort of stuff. Triple H, Stone Cold Rock. Obviously, those are the most difficult ones. But even like in AJ Styles and stuff like that. I got a lot actually at WWE World when we were there over Mania weekend, because they were doing like the free meet and greets when you're there for World anyway. I just waited in line and I got most of those people. The only people that don't work for the company, aside from I guess The Rock actually works for the company. I think Mark Marrow's on there. I don't have Mark Marrow's signature, and he doesn't do a lot of, signings anymore. He's more of a motivational speaker. I would like to. He actually was here in Connecticut at one point years ago, and it didn't really work out. Mark Marrow. Who was the other one? Don Morocco. I'm never going to get Don Morocco. He lives in Hawaii. He doesn't come to the States. That's not happening. Honestly, he might just pass away, and I'll just never get him, and that's fine. But a majority of them though do work for WWE, and I'm at a majority of their shows, but they don't really have autograph signings. They're not going to go to an interview and like, hey, Gunther, can you sign that? I mean, they've actually had Gunther sign it already, but
nice.
So it's got to be right place, right time. But yeah, I think it's like 25, 30. I have a list on my laptop, but of names to go, which is why I hope they don't crown new champions every fucking month, because that only adds to the amount of people I have to sign it.
Nice. I did see this. I know I wanted to bring it to your attention. Real quick, as far as right now, am I missing anything from Raw, SmackDown? Anything I'm missing should be brought up or no?
I don't think so. I think we covered everything.
Bad Blood. We did main event. Roman Cody stuff. All right.
Day,
I did see rumor that 2 tag teams might be coming to WWE, Motor City Machine Guns and the Lucha Brothers from AEW. Is that like confirmed? Like they're in talks, in conversations, and both teams might be coming our way. What you been seeing or hearing about that?
Motor City Machine Guns are, to my knowledge, official. The first person to report that. It's been rumored for a while that they were maybe WWE bound and they were going to AEW instead. Now they actually are WWE bound. Um, uh, Source named PW Nexus. I haven't really heard of them before, I guess, but they were. There was a correct report because Fightful ended up confirming that. So not that they are WWE bound, but they have actually signed with WWE. Has the Motor City Machine Guns, and that they are NXT bound specifically.
Okay.
And they will probably show up either on that first Chicago show in October 1st, or more likely October 8th in Missouri, St. Louis, or wherever they're doing the show, because they had to relocate. And they could show up after that NXT tag team title match on that show. I think it's the Fraxium tag team, and Nathan Frazier and Axiom versus A-Town Down Under. So I assume the champions retain, and then the Motor City Machine Guns show up afterward to set up a match for Halloween Havoc, which is also coming up at the end of October. The Lucha Bros are still in AEW as of right now. I mean, they're still under contract to them, so that's not official, but they appear to be headed on out from AEW to WWE, though.
So when did the contract run out?
Like, I think soon. I mean,
in 24 or like
no, in 24. So I think the dilemma was that I think Pentagon, because obviously it's two guys, and their contracts don't expire at the same time. And if they did, Ray Phoenix, who's been injured a lot, had time added to his deal. They have not been on the show in like a month or two, and they probably would have been at All In had they were, they were staying, but clearly they're not. So yeah, I'm not really sure. I think it should be soon. I heard they were headed to WWE in the fall. If Pentagon's deal isn't up now, it will be soon. And Ray Phoenix should be up already, if not soon after. Now, I know the dilemma was like they might add more time to his deal. If he doesn't want to be there and they have no plans for him, I don't really see what the point of that is. Just let him go. Let them both go. So, yeah, I mean, they should be headed to WWE probably definitely later than the Motor City Machine Guns, but it could be, I think next month might be too soon. It could be November. It might even be January. But I hope it's soon enough because that's another great addition to a tag team division on the main roster. So, yeah,
I was just going to ask you that. Like these teams, they both come on board. Does it bolster the tag team division that we have? Because if you ask me right now, all I know is the Austin Theory tag team with Waller. Obviously, the Miz and R-Truth ain't really doing much. Who else I'm missing? Tag team champion of Finn and McDonough. And I'm like, aside from that.
They have teams. There's no real focus there, though. I actually was in favor of splitting up the tag titles so you can give each tag team division more time on each show. So you don't have to wait until the champions come over to your show to defend the belts or whatever. But I felt like the belts were actually defended more when there was one set of championships. JD McDonough and Finn Balor have been champions for 3 months. The first title defense of theirs was on Monday, 3 months after they won it against the New Day, and they won. I was honestly kind of hoping New Day would win the belts because I was hoping Balor and McDonough would lose them so the belts can be defended more. But you have like Authors of Pain. They're not really on the show. Street Profits on SmackDown, DIY. They have teams, Pretty Deadly, Legato, LWO. There are a number of teams, but they're just not really doing anything, or they don't really feel important, or there's no focus on the tag titles itself. A-Town Down Under is a fine team. They need to be split up. I mean, they've been teasing tension for like 6 months. That shit's just ridiculous. I mean, the fact that shit's even still going on is just wild to me. But yeah, if they can add the Lucha Bros to that mix, Motor City Machine Guns are going to NXT first, and I think that's totally fine. But if you're putting them in NXT first, you got to put the Lucha Bros on the main roster. I mean, you can't have both teams in NXT. They could show up on Raw. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but they could show up on Raw this Monday and beat McDonough and Balor for those tag team titles. And I feel like there would be nothing wrong with that because they're an amazing team. And then from there, you can kind of split them up and have them do their own thing single stars. So I would put them on the main roster right away because I feel like the main roster could use them.
Since we are on a little AEW conversation, just reading now that, from your boy Meltzer, maybe rumor, whatever, that there's a report that Rampage will end with the AEW's new TV deal, which we could bring up now because I saw it was TNT, TBS. There's a new deal being worked out for them. But it seemed like Rampage might end, and then the rumored Shockwave, which is your favorite word, Shockwave would air elsewhere, so to become the third show. So I guess to break it down, it'll be Dynamite, Collision, and taking out Rampage and then plugging in Shockwave as the official third show for AEW. Now, talk about the new TV deal, the rumor about that, and is it a good thing? Like, I want to talk. I want to talk inspired convos about AEW because it's not looking good for them. But we're not here to kick them down. But it's like we're looking for a way up for them to turn the tide. How does the new TV deal help them out?
I think it helps them out a lot because I think it's going to offer them a lot more money than what they were making annually for the show. I think it was like 50 million previously or 70 million. Now it's going to be 150 or 170, whatever it is. So it's a big increase. And that's great. Listen, anyone who isn't an AEW fan doesn't watch the show. It doesn't even matter. Just to have a secondary company in the same way that WCW existed, where there's another major company for talent to go to. And TNA is great, and I like Ring of Honor's AEW now, but like there's other promotions. No company is on the level of AEW with the exposure they have, the money they make, the talent they have. To have that secondary platform, whether you watch the show or like it or not, is a good thing. Because when you don't have that competition, we're right back to where we were in 2017, 2018, 2019, when the fucking wrestling world sucked. Because all there was really just WWE.
Yeah.
Ring of Honor was dying. TNA wasn't really doing shit and whatever. And, and the WWE product had no real motivation to be better because why would they? Because there's no competition really. And now, I mean, even with Triple H in charge, I feel like they could just rest on their laurels if they didn't have any competition. So I think it's great. As far as the Shockwave thing goes, I really am not in favor of them doing yet another fucking show.
Mhm.
But if it gets rid of Rampage, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be a throwaway hour of wrestling no one will watch anyway. But at least they're getting rid of one and replacing it with another. And honestly, I don't know if it gives them more viewers. I don't know about Fox. I heard about Fox being a potential home for it. It could very well just be FS1. Would they really get that many more viewers on FS1 than they would on fucking TNT? I don't think so. I mean, more people have TNT and it's more visible, I would think, than FS1. But I mean, it's a Fox network, so okay, cool, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I think the TV deal's great. I think it should be made official soon. Coincides with Dynamite's 5-year anniversary coming up in a couple weeks. It's a great thing for wrestling, nothing else.
5 years already, AEW?
Yeah, wow. October 2nd was their first show of Dynamite. I mean, the company itself has been around for 5 years, but Dynamite itself is coming up on October 2nd.
Wow. 5 years of AEW, which would have been in line with the 5 years that Raw. SmackDown was on Fox.
Yeah, they arrived that same week. Dynamite debuted on that Wednesday. That Friday, SmackDown went to Fox. It's a big week in wrestling.
So let me ask you this, Graham. Let's just say, again, short. Again, 5 years, and I again, when you have these conversations about Mount Rushmore or whatever, you need a longer resume to figure out who I'm gonna pick. So if I say, for you, who would you put on AEW's Mount Rushmore for the first 5 years? Like, who are the 4 people that are, you could say, the pillars of this company for the first 5 years? Not saying the best wrestler or whatever. It's your Mount Rushmore, your 4 guys that make up the ilk of AEW for the first 5 years.
Jon Moxley, MJF, Kenny Omega, probably CM Punk. I mean, say what you will, but he was a big part of that puzzle. And Chris Jericho. I think those are the top 5 of AEW's Mount Rushmore. Even if you don't like Jericho, I mean, he's still been a big part of the company. So I would say those 5.
You do know Mount Rushmore is 4 guys, right?
Oh, I thought you said 5. Well, I'm sorry.
No, we're doing 4. We're doing 4.
Maybe.
You said Moxley, Omega, MJF, and we're going with Jericho or Punk?
I would have Punk on there because Punk was such a big turning point for them. I mean, I guess you could say Danielson too, but Punk coming in was very, very big. I mean, I don't know. I guess you could take off Punk and put. I feel like Jericho's got to be on there because he was their first champion.
Yeah, Jericho was. The Jericho we see now is like.
Yeah, it's awful, but
Jericho 5 years ago,
it's still a big deal. I mean, it was he helped get them their TV deal because it was Chris Jericho.
I remember you and Mark Raymond D. That's my
Yep.
guy. Shout out to you. Telling me you got to watch his AEW. AEW. You got to watch. What the first pay-per-view where it was on when Moxie came down. What
Yeah,
show was
Double
that?
or Nothing, yeah.
What show was
With
that?
Omega. That was Double or Nothing over
Double
2019.
or Nothing. And I'm seeing it live, and the crowd was crazy. Going, it was Jericho and Hangman, right? Main event.
That was a couple months later. I think the main event was Omega and Jericho on that one.
Omega and Jericho.
Yeah,
Then
because they didn't crown the champion on that first show.
You see John Mox come down, and the crowd's going crazy, and I'm like, at that time, I was like, oh shit, we got a problem. Like AEW's coming in, they're coming in hard, they're coming like, oh, we coming for you guys. And again, things change as time goes on, but just seeing that kind of impact and just remembering that 5 years later. And for me, like, again, I don't see it as much, but I'd say John Mox definitely got a carving on the wall. I'll say Jericho. I'm gonna probably say Omega. MJF, bro. MJF is a bad dude right there, bro.
I'm their best homegrown star.
I'm trying to think of who else could be on like maybe potential that we're not bringing up. But I probably got to say MJF. Punk's. Oh man, I just don't think Punk had the long enough time there. Plus, he was hurt and out for a long time. That's why it kind of negates him for being on that list. If he was fully healthy throughout, then he got a spot. He got a spot because of the other shit he was doing.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? I'm just a fucking fan of that guy. Put him on. But the wrestling, being consistent, being available, John Mox, MJF, Jericho, and Omega. I don't think there's anybody else you would consider aside from Punk to be on that Mount Rushmore of AEW's first 5 years.
I mean, you could say Cody or the Bucks, but I would go with the people that you mentioned, that I mentioned, as over, those guys.
Who would the Bucks replace though?
And no one, because they wouldn't be on there. That's the thing. I'm saying they might be in the top like 7 conversation, but they wouldn't be in the top 4. So I wouldn't have them replace anyone.
So no Bucks, no Cody, no Hangman.
Nope. He's been great. They've all been great.
Danielson?
I feel like,
you mentioned Danielson.
Yeah, he would also be up there. I just don't feel like he's as important to the overall layout of the company as the people that we mentioned. At least, yeah. I mean, we're only speaking 5 years in. 10 years in, it might be a different story. So I don't know.
I don't know, bro.
Sting's been there for a long time. He was there for a long time.
Darby's
another one. Yeah, they've had a lot of great stars, a lot of staples of that company.
What's been the greatest? Before we wrap up, giving AEW some time here. That's what we do here. What's been the greatest pay-per-view in the first 5 years of AEW?
AEW All Out 2021. And I'm not just saying that because I was there, but that was the show where Punk had his first match back against Darby Allin, which was great. They had Ruby Riott show up in a women's battle royal, which was a great moment. But more importantly, Danielson and Adam Cole both debuted on that exact same show at the very end there after a great Omega Christian main event. Among others, they also had one of probably the best tag team match in company history on that show between the Bucks and the Lucha Bros, actually, inside of a steel cage for the tag team titles. The whole show was excellent. That was really the peak, I think, of AEW, was that pay-per-view. Amazing. Yeah, that to me is undisputed their best pay-per-view they've ever done. They've had a lot of great ones, but that's easily their best. That's like a 10 out of 10 for me.
All right, a few more. Again, just the first 5 years, best world champion they had.
I would say MJF. Other people might say Kenny Omega. My answer was Kenny, but I just feel like MJF ended up having a better run as world champion overall. So I would go MJF.
Best tag team champions they had so far, 5 years.
I mean, the Bucks have held the belts 3 times. Their last 2 tag title reigns have been nothing. Have just been completely forgettable, but maybe FTR might be up there. I would say the Bucks, because their first run lasted like a good 10 months and it culminated in that great cage match I just mentioned. So probably the Bucks, but if not them, very likely FTR.
Someone who's underrated in AEW that kind of surprised you and maybe does not get enough talk about him or her.
I mean, They did surprise me. I don't know if they don't get enough talk, but Darby Allin, I had no fucking clue who that guy was. And he had that great debut match with Cody Rhodes at one of their shows, and he went on to become a big star, and he's probably a future world champion. So he gets credit he deserves, but he started out as someone that no one really knew who he was, and he became a big star and got over very quickly. So Darby Allin is my answer to that one.
Our last two. I'm gonna start off negative and end off positive. The worst match in AEW so far in 5 years that you saw.
I mean, there's been a few. And I mean, some I just try to probably better off forgotten.
Was the one where they were doing the bomb's gonna go off in 10 seconds? And
I mean, that wasn't the match itself wasn't great. That moment was awful.
Oh yeah.
They had Jericho and Orange Cassidy, which they just did last night actually, but they had a match about 4 years ago during the pandemic era that was a Mimosa Mayhem match. That was just garbage. It was like you had to put someone in a vat of mimosa. It was stupid. They had Jeff Jarrett and Jeff Hardy in a Chainsaw Massacre match. It was just about a year ago on Dynamite. That was terrible. There's been other matches, but those are among them.
Not a match, but what was the angle very early on? They it was like these fake druids. Like, what was the thing in oh my god.
You thinking of the Brandy Rhodes group? They did like a group with Brandy Rhodes, Awesome Kong, and some woman who shaved her head. It was called the Nightmare Collective, and it lasted.
No, not them. It was
that was also terrible.
Black and purple.
Yeah, the Dark Order guys.
Oh my god.
I mean, the Dark Order is still a thing, but they did that one angle on one of the first Dynamites, maybe in like that December, that closed the show. That was so bad. That angle and that segment was so fucking bad. It like completely changed the direction of where they were going. Like they were supposed to feud with the Elite, and it never happened after that. They completely moved on from that. So it was pretty bad.
All right. Best. I'm almost done. Best storyline in AEW's first 5 years.
I think it's now officially Swerve and Adam Page, the feud that they've had. I think that just had their, they just had their cage match. Before that, I would have said MJF and CM Punk, which is also still very much up there. That whole feud lived up to the hype. Matches were great. Promos were amazing. Fantastic feud. And also Adam Page's chase for the championship before he finally won it from Kenny Omega in 2021. That was also a great story as well. So those are the top three, I think, in AEW's history.
Last one. The greatest match in AEW young 5-year history is?
If it's not, it might be Danielson and Ospreay from Dynasty earlier this year. That match was amazing. Cody and Dustin is up there. I don't think it's the greatest, but I think that was an amazing match from that first Double or Nothing show. People might say,
better yet, I apologize. Give me the Mount Rushmore of AEW's matches. Greatest matches. Give me 4 of them.
I would say Danielson and Ospreay.
Okay.
From
Dynasty.
From Dynasty. I would say Danielson and MJF from Revolution last year. That was I think that's the greatest Iron Man match of all time. Better than even some of the ones almost every single one in WWE. So I would say that. I would say probably Cody and Dustin from Double or Nothing 2019. That was their first like amazing match. And maybe the Bucks versus the Lucha Bros in that cage match from All Out 2021. And there's a lot of other ones like Danielson and Ospreay, or Danielson and Omega had a great match on Dynamite. That first Grand Slam show ended in a draw or a time limit draw. That was a great match. Omega
no Punk and MJF.
There for matches, no. Feud, yes. Match. Okay. I mean, that would be up there though. That was an amazing match.
No Omega.
What about Omega?
Any Omega match could be up there.
Yeah, I mean, Omega and Adam Page versus the Bucks from Revolution 2020, that tag team title match, that was phenomenal. Nothing from the COVID era, really.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's more, especially this year. I mean, this year they've had like Danielson and Swerve at All In was amazing. Swerve and Ospreay from Forbidden Door this year was outstanding as well. They've had a lot of amazing matches, so it's kind of hard to narrow it down. I think this year might be their best year for matches. Actually, it was 2024, even though the product is kind of cooled off. But yeah, I would say Cody, Dustin, Bucks and Lucha Bros. I would say Ospreay and Danielson, and MJF. Those would probably be my top 4.
I probably got to see all of those again. I don't recall any of those, but I got some homework to do, because if you're telling me those are Mount Rushmore potential AEW for first 5 years, then I gotta stop bullshitting and then kind of catch up and just. I know we joke around where a match might happen today and then tomorrow, oh, it's the greatest Iron Man, it's the greatest tag team, it's the best. And I'm like, we just let it relax, let it simmer down a bit, because then the next week it's a new greatest match of all time. It's like,
Yeah.
but I know you probably text me those because I forgot already. But I definitely want to catch up on that and just kind of try to see AW turn the tides. And they got Grand Slam coming up at
Arthur Ashe next Wednesday. Yeah.
I know last time you told me the sales were not as good, but
They're still not.
Still not good? Damn.
I heard they're around maybe 5,000.
You're going?
No, I'm not going. I've never gone. I do not want to go. I mean, it's not an AEW thing. It's that I've been to Citi Field a lot for Mets games. I mean, you're a New Yorker, so maybe you can attest to this. But getting over to that area, at least for someone like me, which it's like 2+ hours anyway to drive there.
Yeah.
But then, like, the parking there's abysmal. The area is not good. And I would take a train, which I typically do when I go to the Mets games, but they're all closed. Like, by the time Grand Slam gets over, because they tape stuff afterward, and just getting out of there is a nightmare. It's a long travel day, so I didn't go. I almost went to the first one, and none of them since then I have even considered. So I was almost like, I kind of want to go because they're doing Danielson and Nigel McGuinness next week, which I've been looking forward to for a very long time. But then I'm like, yeah, no, it's not worth it. So I will not be there.
All right. I won't be there just because I'm not going. Yeah. I'm not going. So
they have a show on Friday. So Grand Slam is next Wednesday. They're doing Collision in Springfield, Mass on Saturday. I'll probably be at that one because the Big E Fair, which is like a big thing in Mass, is also in Springfield that weekend. So I actually might do both. It's like right next door. So I might go to the fair and then go to the show afterward. Collision means like nothing nowadays, but I might go to AEW on Saturday.
Well, I say this before we wrap up officially, and for those who have been watching on Twitter and YouTube, I apologize for the Wi-Fi interruption earlier, but find the podcast on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, youtube.com/Cruise Control Podcast. Go ahead, download, rates, comments, subscribe, all that good stuff. Show some love, support for your boys on the program. But I do want to thank you for giving me the brief AEW history lesson. I know I definitely missed a lot, and again, I kind of stepped out when things were going better for the company, but then once things started going down, I just haven't really been that much tuned in. But I'm definitely gonna watch those matches at some point in time. Not saying by next week, but at some point in time, I'm gonna catch them. You know what? I kind of agree with Graham with those Mount Rushmore matches. I think we nailed it as far as the Mount Rushmore performance earlier. So thank you for that, man. I really do. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Always appreciate you having on coming on the show. Graham Matthews at Wrestle Rants on Twitter. Find him on Bleacher Report, FanSided DDT. For Randy Cruz, Graham Matthews, 2 out of 3 Falls podcast. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Big thanks, Mr. Cruz. I'll catch you on the next one.
All right, man. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
You too. Adios.
All right, bet.